Hello there, Darren Steen here, your Mercola.com personal trainer, bringing to you today our safe squat. We're real excited about telling you and showing you the benefits of the squatting exercise. First of all, I want to tell you why. Why would you or me want to squat? Well, there's three reasons I'm going to cover today, and one is it's a fantastic functional exercise. It's fantastic for fat burning, and it's a great way to build up muscle mass in your entire body, not just your legs, but your chest, your arms, your abs, and your back. And we'll talk about that more in a second. First, let's get back to the first why, and that's because it's functional. Well, what's that mean? Functional means it's how your body operates in the real world. When you're out working in the garage and hauling groceries home, and it makes your body safer during real world activities. And that's very, very important because most of us aren't bodybuilders. We're not concerned with how much muscle we have or losing the fat and getting ripped. We just want to be pain-free, and we want to be able to operate and function in the real world. So it's very, very functional, and that's important for everybody out there that's in the real world. That's all of us. Number two, the reason why you want to perform the squat, and that's for fat burning. And it doesn't go with common logic, but the most amount of your muscle mass is below your hips. And when you're working out to try to lose belly fat or fat anywhere on your body, the number one tool that will allow you to burn the most amount of fat is gaining more muscle. Because the more muscle that you have, the more your body burns calories. For every pound of muscle that you have in the future that you don't have now, your body will burn 50 to 70 calories more per day. So if you work hard and you gain 10 pounds of muscle over a 3 or 4 month time frame, your body will burn 500 to 700 calories more per day. That's why you get a great fat burning effect by carrying more muscle. Plus, it's great for other reasons like bone density, reversing osteoporosis, and that's very important for us especially you women, as you get into your 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s and beyond. The third why is that it is an incredible way to build up your arms, your chest, and your back muscles, other muscle groups outside of your legs. That's a little confusing, but one of the reasons why is a squat performed in the correct way can be so intense that your body is forced to increase its own anabolic hormones, your growth hormone, your testosterone, holistically, which enables you to gain bigger muscles in your other body parts, your upper body parts, when you train them at a later date. So it's a great way to become more functional, to increase your fat burning effect, and to build up your muscle groups in your other area. And it doesn't make sense, but hopefully with that information you can understand the three whys we want to perform a squat. Now let's talk about how, the safe squat. I'm going to do it in a couple planes of motion. First we're going to show and demonstrate the beginner squat. I'm going to come here to the side and I want to talk about three things. One, first is a warm-up. Even for entry level, what we're going to talk about now, you want to warm your core body temperature up. You want to do something that's low intensity, rhythmic, maybe jumping rope. Power walking on a treadmill is one way that I love to warm up. Anything that's just 50, 60, 70% of your heart rate for 5 to 6 minutes just to get a little bit warm. If you don't have any equipment, that's fine. You can run in place. You can do old-fashioned calisthenics, jumping jacks, arm circles, just something that's going to get your heart rate pumping just a little bit so your core body temperature is up a little bit. When you do that, your muscles and your body and your limbs and your joints become a little bit more flexible and operate a little bit better. So that's why the warm-up is very important. The second step is after a 5 to 8 to 10 minute warm-up, you want to do some stretches. The main muscle groups that we're concerned about with the safe squat that we're performing now that we want to make sure have a nice range of motion are your quads on the front, your hamstrings on the back, your glutes or your buns, and your calf muscles. Those are obviously the major muscle groups of the lower body. So we want to just do a generic stretch for each area after our 5 to 10 minute warm-up. So the quads on the front, a relatively easy one is just grab your left foot with your right hand and then slowly for 3 or 4 seconds pull that heel up into your bun and get a stretch in the front of that thigh. Do 3 or 4 seconds, bring it down, and then do 3 or 4 repetitions on each side. So that's going to stretch the quads out on the front. Hamstrings on the back is just keep your legs relatively stiff. Just drop your head down, drop your fingertips down, protect that lower back, take the roundness out of it by rotating your hips. We'll talk more about that in a second. Let your breath out for 3 or 4 seconds. Come up, and each time try to go down a little bit further and accentuate the stretch a little bit further. The best way to stretch any muscle group is to relax into the stretch for 3 or 4 seconds by letting your breath out and go a little bit further, and do that for 3 or 4 repetitions. So this is a great hamstring stretch right here. Big breath in. Go a little bit further each time. To come out of the hamstring stretch, I like to bend the knees, and I like to push off the thighs to help that lower back to come up out of that hamstring stretch. That's a really nice way to keep your lower back nice and safe. And the third area are the glutes. This one's a little bit more difficult, your bun muscles. So to stretch my left glute, I'm going to put my left heel up on my knee. I'm going to pull back a little bit on my toe, and I'm going to drop my head down, and I'm going to take my left fingertips as I let my air out. 2, 1, down. And if you lose your balance, that's okay. Just come down on the floor and come right back up. Big breath in. Pull this toe up a little bit, and exhale. 2, 1. That was 2 repetitions. That felt really good. I would do 2 more repetitions on the left, and then I would do 4 repetitions on the right. Last stretch is your calves. It's a little tricky to stretch your calves out, but I'm looking around here. I'm a little limited, but hey, I got something right here that I'll use. So I got a little bar here we're going to use later in the demo, and you want to put your balls of your toes up on something. You know, a stair is good, or a 2x4, and you want to keep your legs stiff. And just lean forward for 3, 2, and 1. 3 or 4 repetitions, same thing. 4 repetitions on the left, 4 repetitions on the right. If you want to get a little bit technical, you can stretch the calf a little bit differently by doing the same stretch and bending the knee and coming forward. 3, 2, 1. That feels very different. There's 2 muscles of your lower calf. The first one, stretching it with your legs stiff, works the outer diamond-shaped muscle on the surface, the gastrocnemius or the gastroc. And then the second stretch, bending the knee into it, works the soleus, which is the thick muscle that's underneath the top superficial muscle, the soleus. So ideally, to work stretch the calf most thoroughly, you'd want to stretch the calf with both techniques. So now we did our 5 to 10 minute warm-up, jumping rope. We did our stretches on all the muscle groups. We're feeling good. I'm 46 years young right now, so I got to take a little bit more precaution. You know, 20, 25-year-olds, their joints probably don't have as many issues, but still it's important to do all these things. But definitely in our 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, we want to take these precautions to make this exercise, the safe squat, as safe and as effective as possible. So there you go. There's the how as far as the warm-up and the stretch. Now let's get into the actual safe squat. We got 3 techniques. The first one's for the beginner. I'm going to turn to the side here so you can see me from the side. And there's 3 really important tips that you need to focus on before you perform the safe squat with any intensity past the beginner stage. And that is our hips. This is really important. This is really a misused term as far as how to position their hips. Most people are disconnected from their brain, between their brain and their hips, and they're not really for sure where their hips are. But over time, with some exercise, hopefully you can understand where your hips are rotated. But think about your pelvic bowl being a dish. And think about if you stuck the booty out the back like that, the water would pour out the front or anterior. So that's an anterior tilt of the hips. Now I come back. That's a neutral placement. Now, if I make my buns nice and flat, then you that's a posterior tilt, or the water would fall out the back of the bowl. So I want you to do that exercise right there. Anterior tilt, posterior tilt. If you look in a mirror and you do practice that exercise right there, you can start to get in tune with where your hips are. Very, very important in performing a safe squat effectively and going forward into the intermediate and the advanced stages in the future. So the key is your hips want to be in an anterior tilt. Rotate the hips to the front, stick the booty way out the back. What's that do? It tightens up the lower back so it's nice and tight and safe versus a rounded lower back. If you bend over to pick up a pencil off the floor with a rounded back or a posterior tilt with a flat butt, you could hurt your back in a very serious way, let alone squatting with this super safe squat technique. So you want to get that lower back tight, anterior tilt, the booty sticks out the back. And the second thing is you want to act like you're basically driving your buns back behind you, like you're going to sit back in a chair, breathing in. and coming up. Heels in, toes out. There's a lot of different feet placement for different people, but in general, pretty much shoulder width apart, maybe slightly wider with your heels in, toes out is a very nice natural alignment for your feet. Okay, anterior tilt, we tighten up that lower back, stick the booty out the back. We sit back, weight back in a chair, breathing in. Breathing's very important. Going down, sitting back in a chair, weight through the heels, push the knees apart a little bit. The knees should track right over the big toe, breathing in. I'll do 5 in a row. I'll stop talking, I'll do 5 in a row so you can see. Breathing in. Breathing in. At the bottom, exhale. I'm making a pa noise because that helps me let the air out soft and slow and steady versus holding your breath. Not a big factor now, but in the intermediate and advanced squats, very, very important. You don't want to hold your breath doing something intense like a safe squat. Breathing in. Breathing in. If you've never done a squat before, going down to a medium depth is probably fine. But once you feel a little bit comfortable and you're warmed up and you're stretched out, ideally to work the entire lower body, you want to go upper thigh at least parallel to the floor to make sure that you're working the glutes and the hamstrings at the lower range of motion, and then the quads and the muscles on the front and the top half range of motion. And then the last thing I want to talk about for entry-level beginner squats are that besides the breathing being very important, you want to make sure that as you go down, breathing in, that you tighten up your tummy. Pull that belly button in, cinch up your deep internal ab muscles. And if you just pull the belly button back away from the waistband, that's going to tighten up those inner ab muscles during the technique. I know it's a lot to think about, but it's very important. Breathing in. So there you go. There are my best tips for the safe squat for the beginner. It's a great exercise. I highly suggest going nice and slow and controlled, just like I demonstrated right there. Maybe 2 seconds down, 1 second pause, 2 seconds up, seeing if you can get 15 or 20 good repetitions per set. 2 or 3 sets, 2 or 3 times per week, I think would be ideal for someone entry level. It's not too intense. You're not going to get too sore. In the beginning, you might feel a little bit of soreness. So there you go. Safe squat for the beginners. It's fantastic movement. Let's go right into the intermediate. The safe squat for the intermediate, we're going to get a little bit of resistance. Okay? Right here, I got a dumbbell. This is a 25-pound dumbbell. For intermediate, one of the best ways to increase the resistance and remain the safest on the body and the core is to put one, this is a dumbbell or a kettlebell. Kettlebell is just a round ball with a handle on it. Grab it, put it right here between your legs and hold it just like this. Or if you don't have a kettlebell, a dumbbell works just as fine, just holding it just like this. Now we perform the exact same technique we just showed you for the beginners, but it's a little bit more intense on the thighs because we have more resistance. Down, breathing in. Tilt those hips, tighten up that lower back, get the booty out the back. Sit back in a chair, breathing in. Keep the weight through the heels. Push those knees apart. Track those knees right over the big toe. Breathing in. Ideally, for intermediate, to get the most advantage and get the best chance of building up as much muscle in the lower body, you want to pick a weight where you can safely perform the safe squat, but get to where you can't do any more in the, let's say, 12 to 15 repetition range. If you don't have enough kettlebell or dumbbell to hold here in between your legs, then we can get a couple dumbbells. So now I got a 25 in each hand, so that's 50 total. And now I should be able to perform, going nice and slow, I should be able to perform this exercise and be able to get really hard in the 12 to 15 rep range. If you're limited on how much weight you have, there's ways to make the technique harder and make a lightweight feel more intense and more effective. One of those would be something I call little double pumps at the bottom. So real good form, just like we talked about before, breathing in. And maybe it's a half a pulse. Breathing in. So it's just a little pulse at the bottom, in the bottom half range of motion, breathing in. 2 pulses. Ah. I can feel the burn already. Anytime that you do pause or pulse in the deep contracted range of motion, the muscles are saying, wow, what is that? I haven't felt that before. And you can feel the lactic acid and the warmth build up at a much quicker rate. I'll do a couple more. Breathing in. And let's go 3, 2, and 1. Last one, breathing in. And 3, and 2, and nice and slow, and relax. Even though I only did 4 or 5 repetitions, and I only had 50 pounds total in my hands, it was obvious and easy for me to feel the sharper burning sensation and the fact that the muscles were working harder. And something I want to jump back to earlier I missed, and this is really important. Another reason why the safe squat technique that we're showing you here is much more functional than other leg exercises, which helps you perform in the real world, which is very important for us as we want to age long and strong. And that is a typical leg exercise that you might see someone doing in the gym, maybe a leg press, where they're laying on their back and they're pushing a sled out away from them. There's no balance, there's no proprioception, the nerves don't have to work. It's good and different and hits just on the thigh, but the positive aspect of why this one's so functional is the safe squat has to balance, and it's the real world, and the nerves got to work, and your proprioceptive nerves have to work. And that's why it makes it so much better for you to create a physique and strength and balance and stability to go out in the real world and realize all those benefits. So that's really powerful reason why the safe squat is an awesome, awesome exercise. Now, for the third and final, I want to talk a little bit about ways to make this more advanced for you people who are exercising right now who want to take this to the next level and see the most amount of gains from this exercise. Even though holding dumbbells, I could hold 30 or 40 pound dumbbells in my hands, and it's really nice and safe. My forearms and my hands tend to get overwhelmed, and it makes me less able to focus on everything that I need to focus on as far as making the safe squat as effective as possible. So it limits me a little bit. So the advanced version of the safe squat, there's a few options, but one option that we like is maybe an Olympic bar, and we put on our back like this, and we hold our hands like this. And there's some challenges here because it's a little bit more dangerous on the spine, but if you get your anterior tilt right and tighten up that lower back, get your chest open, stay nice and tight, pull your belly button in, and tighten up that deep inner ab muscle, it can remain safe. But the key is not going heavy, like 2, 3, 4 plates on each side like you see a lot of people do, and just sort of squat halfway down. Make it stay nice and light on the weight and go nice and deep with the safe squat technique. So in this instance, I would probably put maybe 100 pounds or 135, which is an Olympic bar, and a 45-pound plate on each side. I would let go of my ego, and I would perform the safe squat technique and go nice and deep. Heels in, toes out. Anterior tilt, stick the booty out the back, sit back like you're sitting back in a chair. Keep the weight through the heels, breathing in. This is where the breathing becomes really important. Not holding your breath at the bottom, breathing in. Now, I don't have any weight on my back. I'm just using this as a sample or an example. If I did, it would force me down a little bit deeper, breathing in. I'll do 2 more, breathing in. Breathing in. As you can see, the angle of my back as I go down is sort of like this right here. This is going to help a small percentage of you people. So many times in clubs, I'll see the Smith machine turn the wrong way because everyone faces the mirror, and the Smith machine usually has an angle on it. And almost always the owner of the gym puts the Smith machine so it's angled this way. And if you're trying to squat, and you can see the discrepancy here, the angle of the Smith machine has to be going this way, facing the mirror this way. So that's just a little side note if you're using a Smith machine. Make sure that it's turned the right way. If it's not, get the owner of the health club to turn it around for you. So now, that is our advanced safe squat using a barbell. And I want to talk a little bit about a different type of advanced squat, and that would be for athletes or someone who is playing a sport and wants to create athleticism. So we're going to do a little bit of a plyometric jump doing the safe squat. So this is our last technique. I love this. It gets the heart rate real high. It sort of combines cardio and resistance training together. For me, a good weight would be either a kettlebell held here or a dumbbell. Everyone's different. If you're super advanced, start out with maybe 30, see how that goes. If you're intermediate, haven't done a lot of leg stuff, use maybe a 10 or 15. If you're entry level, you could do this plyometric athletic squat, super squat technique with no weight at all. So I'm going to do 25, which would be an intermediate weight. Everything's the same, chest open, rotate the hips, sit back in a chair, breathing in. Just get the technique down, squat technique down. Now plyometric would be hopping up and landing with your legs sort of bent and letting your muscles absorb the shock. Be like this, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Get nice and deep, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So now, one mistake with plyometric squatting type movements are people jump and they land with stiff legs and then they go down. You want to land with your legs already bent, with your buns nice and deep, so that way the glutes and the hamstrings are absorbing the shock at the bottom. That's real important. So it's a high jump and land with your buns deep and your legs are already bent. Bah, bah, bah. Really control that breathing. I'm breathing hard right now. Advanced super squat, athletic plyometric type movements are going to get your heart rate really, really high. It's an amazing movement and it's super functional, and a lot of athletes, maybe I've seen athletes exploding up and jumping on boxes and then stepping back off. That's exactly what they're doing. They're utilizing this safe squat technique. So there you go. I know it's a lot of information, but if you're serious about getting healthier, leaner, and more fit, I highly suggest that you watch this video a couple times and you set up your own safe squat workout system. And until next time, Darren Seen here, your Mercola.com personal trainer. Make the rest of your life the best of your life.